I'm Ashely Sellers, speech language pathologist and owner and operator of Speech, Language, and Beyond. Well, today I am coming to you with a get to know me video. Now, I see all the YouTube channels out there, how they have the tags and all of that stuff. And I realize that my channel is more of an educational channel, but what I've been trying to do and what my goal has been for this year is for you to really get to know me, not only as a speech language pathologist, but also as a regular person who operates and functions in the world every day, just like you. And I've been making it my goal to try and put out at least 2 videos a week or every other week because there's just so much information out there that I want to share. And so it's very important for me, for you to also get to know me, which is why lately you've been seeing a lot of the 2 vlogs that I've done of my day in the life of an SLP, which is mainly featured what my work life is. I feel one of the things that's very important that I had to learn over time is that even with my parents as a professional, I still needed them to know that, look, I'm a regular person who has the same concerns, beliefs, or whatever as you do, and that really does help to guide my decisions also as a professional. So I just kind of wanted to come to you and just give you just some information about who I am, just in case you may be wondering. And I also welcome the opportunity to get to know a lot of you, okay? So, I am 33 years old. My birthday is May 26, 1983. I am from Macon, Georgia, which is in the Middle Georgia area. It is about an hour away from Atlanta. I'm currently residing in Albany, Georgia, so my commute from Macon to Albany would be about an hour and 45 minutes. Okay, I am from a 2-parent home. I am the 4th child out of 5 children. I have 3 older brothers. I'm the first girl and the oldest girl, and I also have a younger sister. I attended college at Valdosta State University. Go Blazers. I love that college. That is my dream college, simply because my oldest cousin, he went there and he made us a part of his experience. By always inviting us to the campus for us to see things. And then when I was in 3rd grade, my favorite teacher, Miss Woolfork, if you ever see my videos, you know that you are my favorite teacher in the whole wide world, because a lot of who I am as a person started with her as a child, and I'll get back to that later. Her cousin, who was our student teacher at the time, she also was a graduate of Valdosta State University. And so ever since my cousin went there and then the student teacher from my favorite teachers class had gone there, I knew that's where I wanted to be. And I entered in 2001. I graduated in 2006 with my Bachelor's of Science in Education for communication disorders, and then I graduated with my master's in 2008. As a part of my history, I started off working as a school speech pathologist. and the way, but I never really started off working directly for a school system. Um, and I guess if you're a SLP, you can kind of, I guess, relate to what I'm saying. Back in the day, you could become a speech language pathologist and graduate, and you were automatically eligible to work in the school system. You still had to go through that whole thing of getting a teacher certificate and all of that. You only needed your C's, which is the certificate of clinical competence, if you wanted to work in a medical setting like at a hospital or in a private practice, or to start your own. But by the time our class, or even classes before us were graduating and going out into the field, they also wanted school speech pathologists to also come with their C's as well. And as a part of that, for anybody who works as one now, when you work as a speech therapist in the school system, you still get whatever the state-based pay is, plus you get whatever your local supplement is, and then they gave us an overhead stipend for becoming an SLP. But because I wanted a little bit more and I wanted a little bit more flexibility, I did not want to directly work for a school system. So I started off my career working in the schools through EBS Healthcare, which is a staffing agency that places speech therapists in different settings throughout different places in the United States. And as a part of that, because I contracted with them, they paid for my housing. I had pre-taxed, my insurance and all that stuff was pre-taxed. I had a 401k plan. They had where if I needed a test or anything like that I had already purchased and I wanted to use it, they had a little library that we could borrow from. They will always send me, little gifts through the mail on my birthday or during different holidays. And so, and the pay was a little bit more than what I would have received in the school system on my own. And that's what I wanted for myself. So I worked with them for about 2 years. And then I broke out of that contract, and for 1 year I worked directly for Peach County School Systems, which is located in Fort Valley, Georgia. I was going to continue in that position, but we were staying in a very small rural city at the time, and we were not wanting to make the commute. And my husband and I, we grew our relationship here in Albany, Georgia, and we wanted to move back here in order to buy a home. And so when I moved back here, because I interned and I did my externship here, because in grad school, I was married. I married my husband at the end of my first year in graduate school, and the last year when I was going to do my internship and my externship at the hospital, that's when we were fully married, living together, and we were in this city. And then once I started working after I graduated, we moved out of the city into a smaller city so that I could work in Peach County, and we wanted to move back here. And when I did, all of the positions were filled. I could not find a school position. So thanks be to God, in my spare time, when I was working as a school speech therapist, and we were living in Cordele, Georgia, which is halfway between Macon and Albany. That's where we were living. In my spare time there, I would say, if I wanted my own private practice, what would I call it? So I came up with a name for it. Then I'm like, okay, well, what would my target population be? What would I want to do? And over time, I would come home every day and I would just write down my mission statement, the population I wanted to target, the activities that I wanted to use. And it just so happens that by the time I moved back to Albany and we were in our home, I had compiled enough information that I was already ready to start my own private practice. Now, I didn't have clientele or anything like that. I had not applied to become a provider for any type of insurance companies. All of that stuff came over time. I did it on my own. I did not borrow any money from a bank or anything, and I still haven't up until this point. And that's how I ended up having my own private practice. Now, it started off in my home. If you go back and you look at some of my older YouTube videos, you will see that I was in my home, and I have changed that space in my home numerous times, and now that is my son's room. So if you go back and you look at the video of the tour of my son's room, that room actually used to be my office. And I've been in my office space now going on my second year here. So I've only been out of my home for 2 years. So that's kind of a short version of how I ended up in private practice. Take an overall view of my life. My biggest accomplishment, I would say, is having my son. And I say that because pregnancy was a struggle for me. And it's something that did not come easy and that just came out of nowhere. Once my husband and I decided that we wanted to start working on having children, I just knew that was going to be an easy process. I did not know what was down the road for me. So just to make a long story short, before I had my son, he was my 5th pregnancy. And so I had lost 4 babies before I had him. And my 4th loss was my first loss was from an ectopic pregnancy, and that required a surgery. I had to get my right fallopian tube taken out. It came out of nowhere. I found out November of 2011, around Thanksgiving, and before the beginning of December, I would say maybe that second week in December, the baby was already gone. All that stuff happened. That was a very traumatic experience. And then the 2 that I had in the middle were pretty much due to a blighted ovum. And so by the time I would go to the appointment to see the baby on the ultrasound, there was nothing there or whatever. And I almost, with my 3rd loss, they were going to let me miscarry at home. But something told me before I went to the appointment to take another pregnancy test, and the pregnancy test came back negative. Because when I went in for my first ultrasound, there was a sac there, but when I went back for that 8-week appointment, the sac had disappeared. And they were going to let me miscarry over the holidays by myself. And something said, well, show the doctor the picture of when you had a positive pregnancy test and when you had a negative one. And he took the pills back from me and checked my levels and saw that everything, was back down to where I guess what it looks like when you're not pregnant. So I avoided having to go through that experience of having to miscarry at home. And then with my 4th pregnancy, I had to take progesterone injections. And because they said that my levels would go down by the time it was time for the, I can't think of the word. When the lining of the uterus is supposed to get thick and the stuff that covers the baby, the progesterone is what makes that stuff thicker. And by the time that came, I didn't have enough of it, and there wasn't, it wasn't healthy for the baby to be unable to grow. And so I was able to make it during that pregnancy to 16 weeks. My guard was up. It was still a hard pregnancy because the baby was really, really low down. And even at 9 weeks, I could feel him actually in my stomach. And my mom will always tell me, you shouldn't feel the baby this soon. And I always just felt like he was just sitting really, really low. And as a result of that, I found out that I had an incompetent cervix, and they tried to go in and give me a cerclage, an emergency cerclage, but at the end of the day, it was too late. His life at that point was still healthy, but my life was in danger, and so I had to make that critical decision of choosing between my life and my baby's life, and that was like one of the hardest things I ever had to do. And so I lost that baby, and he was a little boy, and we did give him a name. We named him Brandon Jerome Riggins Sellers, and that was its own experience. And at that point, I had lost so many babies. I had been through so many things, and I was still in the midst of trying to start my business. So one minute I was, pregnant and having a business, lost a baby, had to stop and come back. So it was a lot of stop and go. And my emotions, and I was, becoming depressed, and my emotions were everywhere. And so finally, about 6 months after losing him, I remember talking to my mom and telling her, look, you know what? I'm putting a lot of wear and tear on my body, and it's really putting a big halt on my career and where I want to go in my life. And I really need to go before God and say, is this what you would have me do? I want to be a mother, but if it's not your will for me to be a mother this way, then I will stop, and then I will, consider other ways of becoming a mom. And so I remember having that conversation maybe at the end of May after my birthday. after my 30th birthday. And then that summer, June of 2014, my family and I, my siblings and I decided to go home and be with my dad for Father's Day. And we went back to my home church. And when I went there, a lady from my childhood, from my church, someone that I fairly trusted and has watched me grow up as a child, she actually called me and my sister forward in the church. And she began to speak some things into my ear. And she pretty much told me that God heard my prayer, He heard my question, and that He was aware of everything that I was going through, and He was going to give me the desire of my heart. And the whole while, my sister was standing behind me, but I didn't think that she could hear what the lady was saying. And she said every time she spoke something into me, she felt it come over unto her. And so she gave me a scripture to meditate on that day, and she told me to get up and read it at night, and before I went in the morning, and before I went to bed at night. And I started doing that day. I think it was either June 14th or June 15th of 2014. And by July, maybe by I would just say the first or second week of July 2014, I was pregnant with my son. And my sister was pregnant by the end of July 2014. And so we were pregnant at the same time. And our babies are 6 weeks apart. And so that was why I would say that it's like the biggest accomplishment of my life was having my son, because it was something I was almost about to give up on, and it's been the best gift because he's the happiest baby. And so that's the biggest accomplishment of my life. One of my things I'm very proud of that people who don't know me know about me is that I can sing. So I have a nice singing voice. I've been singing since I was 3 years old, and I never forget my first experience with singing. I used to be so scared because when I would have to stand in front of the church or stand in front of a crowd and sing, I would be so nervous that I would just cry. And so that lasted for a really, really, really long time. Even though I can sing, it's one of my fears of singing in front of people. And it's something that I've grew to conquer as I've gotten older. But my experience with singing is a very big part of my life, because I started off singing with my sister and brothers. And then as they got older, they stopped doing it. And then my sister and I did a lot of singing together. And then, of course, I continued on with that throughout my adulthood. So that's something that I'm really proud of, and I really feel like it a lot of that shaped my life. So that's something that if you didn't know me, that you wouldn't know. I am a fast food junkie. That is my problem. I love hamburgers, I love Wendy's, I love McDonald's, I love Burger King. I'm just a fast food junkie. I love burgers, I love sandwiches, I love subs. But on top of that, I also love seafood. I really, 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 really love seafood. But I'm a fast food junkie. That is a problem for me, and it's something that I'm consistently trying to do better at. Another thing, I love dark drinks. That's bad, but I do. I love dark drinks, from cherry cokes to Pepsis to regular Coke to wild cherry Pepsi to Dr. Pepper. I love dark drinks, and that's something I'm really trying to get better at. At this point, I do have a best friend, but my best friend list is kind of different. So if I had to say best friends as far as my family, it would definitely be my mom, my sister, my godmother, who is my aunt, who are my two nieces. Those are all of my best friends in a nutshell. if I had to say who is my best friend outside of my family, it would be my colleague and friend from college. Her name is Demetria Jackson. She's also a speech language pathologist, and it's crazy because we didn't start college at the same time. We did not start out college really knowing each other. We were ended up in the same major, and I would say we were good friends in school, but we didn't hang out all the time. But when we did get together, we could sit at a table and talk for 3 hours and talk about everything in the world. And then we reconnected. She started graduate school a semester before I did. And then after we graduated and we kind of went on with our own lives, we kept in contact with each other. And over time, we just began to call each other more on the phone and talk. And she relocated to the area where I'm from. And we've been best friends ever since with our children. She was there for me through a lot of my pregnancy losses. And we were supposed to, my fourth baby that I lost, and her little girl, they were supposed to be only a few months apart from each other, about 2 months apart from each other. And she went on to have her little girl, and then I had Ashton, and they've been growing up together. We are each other's children's godparents, and so that shows how close we are. So that's what I would say my best friend is. Future plans, with especially pertaining to my career, is to own my own space, a bigger space, and to take on staff. And that's really important to me, simply because I want to be one of those employers where when people come work for me, they can leave here and make a good living and be able to take care of their family. I want to be the type of employer that when you come to the table, because I know the job and I'm experienced on the job, I want them to walk in and to have everything that they need. I want you to walk in and you have your own company computer, you have your own set of tests, you have, when you first come in, that whatever materials that you feel like you need as a therapist that you can work with, those are purchased for you, you have full benefits. I just want them to enjoy their job and to do it efficiently. I really want to be a top-notch employer that, my employees will feel like they have worked for someone who cares about them, who wants to see them advance in their future, and also be able to have a good income so that they can have a good personal life and not just me because I'm the boss. Now, I will tell you this about me. As a business professional, I feel like my outview on things are different. So people may not agree as who I want to be as an employer, and it may sound like I'm living in a dream world, but I just have a different perspective. Seriously, the one thing that I want people to know about me, I know that if it was not for Jesus Christ being my Savior, I would not be who I am today. And that extends so far beyond just my career. And being saved and living according to His principles is what leads and guides my life every day. And I feel very strongly about loving people and being respectful towards people. I love them the way that I feel like Christ loves me. So I hope this kind of paints a picture for you of who I am as a person. And I will say, I know a lot of times, and my brother-in-law, he told me this, a lot of times in my videos, you will see that I may have a very serious face and that I'm very serious about what I'm saying. But I promise you guys, I do smile. I do try to make people laugh. I do tell jokes. I would even consider myself to be the person in my family that when I walk into the room that I can do or say something that will make someone laugh. It's just that I'm very passionate about what I do. And if you don't know me and you've never seen me before, you will say that she has a very serious demeanor, or you may even consider me to kind of be stuck up upon looking at me. But the Bible says not to judge people by what you see or based on appearances only. And so that's another reason why I'm doing this video, because I don't know what perception I might be putting out there of myself when you look at some of my videos. But I'm a very kind person, I'm a nice person, I'm a loving person. I'm very self-motivated, and I love to help people. And so I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I welcome the opportunity to get to know you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.